We've been telling you here on Film Don't Lie that Georgia has to pass accurately down the field. They have to get the downfield passing game going, and it opens up everything else. Brent, I think we saw that against UAB. I'm Dayne Young, that's Brent Rollins. We are Film Don't Lie from UGAsports.com, presented by Breda, Pest Management, and ASW Distillery. Support those folks. They let us talk about football. I'm on my back deck right now talking about ball because that's what Breda and ASW allow us to do. Brent, we're so grateful that they do. And I know you, looking at offensive schemes, you're probably grateful to see some of these receivers being found when they're open downfield.
Yeah, and it's one of those things where obviously on UGAsports.com earlier in the week, I wrote a piece, really looked at the numbers and how much different the offense was from the previous iteration last year in 2022. And what was amazing, like in the big picture, it wasn't really different. Numbers and things like that, a few more screens. But what was massively different for the first three games for Georgia was the amount of play action and how far down the field they were pushing the ball in the second half compared to the first. Well, what did we see in the first half this week? A lot of play action and a lot of the ball being pushed down the field. And, hey, you actually got it rolling. Big time, even more so in the first play of the game. That's when it was there.
Yeah, I thought this was a masterclass for Mike Bobo. And how do we get Brock Bowers the football more than we had been getting him the football? We'll show you that as we go. First play, though, was it was a shot play. Here we go. Dominic Lovett getting loose.
Yeah, and it's one where it's hard to see on the TV copy. But the biggest thing for me was a little bit. It was patience from back here. And twofold, you're going to see this on both this play here and then the play to Rosemary Jackson later in the game, that he threw the completion. Like if he tries to throw like the absolute pinpoint pass, hit him in stride, right, the perfect throw, you might miss a little bit. And when the guy is this wide open, like there's no one within 10 yards either, 8 to 10 yards either way, just throw the completion, let him go to work. And they did that. Play action fake. The fakes and his fake game, to me, like he still could take a little more time with that and work on that. But this is how you start the game. We asked for it. I will say, I would bet those within the building knew the numbers in terms of the first versus second half deal. But I would almost bet they didn't necessarily know the magnitude and how explosive they were in the second half compared to the first. And I may or may not have inside information on that. But,
that means you do.
You just saw it, the play action passing game, what it opens up and what Beck can do, because he's very accurate in that 15 to 25 yard range.
I wanted to point out quickly too that on this first play, UAB brings four guys here. And you saw later in the game, I think they realized, well, that's not going to work for us. And I think they were planning to be more aggressive anyway. You saw more players in the box trying to rush things, make the timing be a little bit more difficult. Because if they would have done this all game, Georgia would have really picked them apart.
Yes, very much so. Good protection overall. I think Beck was pressured on like 6 of his 35 dropbacks in this game, which is still the most in terms of percentage-wise that he's been pressured all season.
Lovett was wide open. He caught it. Did have some catch issues in this game. His hands, there's a few he needs to haul in.
Yes, very much so.
We'll put our focus here on Arian Smith, and then Mr. Bowers becomes lead blocker over here. I know you like seeing Dylan Bell as the back in the red zone.
Yes, and what's amazing, we talk so much about the fakes. This one wasn't even the best. This was maybe one of his worst of the night in terms of fakes. But the linebackers for UAB, like look at the edge player as you go back to the snap. Like look at the edge player and the linebacker for UAB and what's sort of going through for them. Like complete heads looking the other way. Like, yeah, no. And the ball is getting ready to come out of Beck's hands. What was amazing about the drive, though, was, Georgia kind of was lucky in a way because they hurt themselves with the hold by Delp, which if you look at that play very closely and like some of the things we're going to talk about with him in another video, he's just not making sort of attack angles. But then you got the pass interference to set this up, and then Brock Bowers just being Mr. Everything. Aaron Smith making a move. Like I love to see him make moves in the open field like that because hey, just show me a little more something than just being fast down the field. But good start, red zone. That's in the red zone, scoring a touchdown. Finally, 6 for 6 on the day, I think it was. So good stuff from the beginning.
We'll get it with 3rd and 6 here, second quarter, currently tied at 7. Things break down a little bit, but Carson Beck makes something of it.
This was his best play of the game for me. Now, a couple of different things with it. Just the make moves and go get the first down. Do what you have to do. Don't set up and take the hit. Make a move. Go find the sticks. Like that's what you want to see from your quarterback is effort, no matter what. Now, from a passing standpoint, if he holds that maybe and makes that decision a half a count slower, you see Bowers kind of working in around the top of the G. He comes open across the middle of the field, like right there. But it's as he comes open, Beck puts his head down. But this, to me, he has to do this. And now we're going to look at another play sort of in the not so great from the offense where he did it a little too quick and got himself in trouble. But when it's there, and especially on 3rd down, because, look at this. This is a 7-7 game in the second quarter. You don't get this 3rd down, now you got to punt to him. Or, your coach has to go forward inside your own territory. It's a little different, and the fan base playing the crowd feels a little differently. The stadium does.
Well, and he's done enough of the check downs so far this year that, my instant thought was he's going to go to Dayne right here. But it's a good thing that he didn't because there's 3 players behind Dayne that are probably going to prevent him from getting beyond the first down marker because he's already stopped at this point. And so it's all about forward momentum going north and south, and Beck has a better chance to do this in this lane. But he also, this is really solid protection to maintain the pocket and allow him options to go from here.
Yeah, speaking of the protection, I think one guy that's in this play that I saw you highlight earlier today on Twitter that actually had himself a darn good game is Mr. Micah Morris at left guard.
Yeah.
Both him and Fairchild played really well. And that's going to be the rotation now that Truss has kind of been planted out at right tackle for a while.
Back to our star of the show, Mr. Bowers.
I tweeted during the game that he's even better than you already think he is. The neighbor I thought had an apt sort of comp for him. He's Captain America. You just watch him and these guys just fall off. He throws them away. He's insane. And what's amazing about it is his average depth of target is 3 yards. 3. So everything he's getting for the most part is at or behind the line of scrimmage. He has 85% of his yards after the catch. He's doing most all of this outside of some of the scheme things to get him space. He's doing all this on his own. And I think what you're going to see, a couple of the scheme things here. One is folks talk about, hey, Beck, can you keep a ball one time off of the zone action? This is replacing that. This is, hey, make the defender make a decision, and if you crash, I'm going to punch it out to Bowers or Love it. Sometimes we've seen him there, but this is how they've, to me, said, all right, our QB's not really a running threat. He can run, but this is how we're going to do that. But 2, I think when Austin Lucky really gets back in the flow of things, that's when you're going to see the targets that Bowers go.
One of the things I like seeing on this play, too, Jackson Meeks being back here, I think he's one of Georgia's best blocking receivers. Rosemy-Jacksain is the primary one there, but having more options at that spot because perimeter blocking has been an issue for Georgia in its first 4 games. I think Meeks is a valuable piece of this going forward. And this all happened right in front of Uga's doghouse. And Uga doesn't seem very impressed by it. This is old hat now for Uga, seeing Bowers do this.
That's what I'm saying. Seeing Bowers, especially against UAB. Seeing Bowers against UAB, he does this all the time.
Why did it take you so long?
12 for 227 and 4 touchdowns against UAB in 2 games in his career.
I want to talk quickly about just the technique here of Bowers taking the step to the inside, you say Beck needs to execute good fakes. This is a good fake from Bowers. It makes it look like I'm coming in to block, and then he peels off quickly. He's agile enough that this is a very quick process, and it's just a beautiful thing to see. Foot in the ground, go.
Yep. And if the guy stays with Bowers or hesitates at all, you give the ball, move forward.
Next up, more Bowers.
I mean, so when you look at red zone issue, and we actually kind of had conversations about, and by the way, he doesn't go down like on 3 guys. Like that's just he's so amazing. But when we think about red zone issues, this is kind of, I mean, if you add the QB run game a little bit, it's the triple option, but this is true spread option football with a non-running threat at the QB. Split zone bluff. So Bowers coming from one side of the formation to the other. Hey, oftentimes, what is that? That's him hitting the defensive end. But when he comes through there, now it's a quick. Now, oftentimes, I'd be curious how much of that is a true read versus, hey, I'm pulling this and throwing it to him. But this should be the staple of what they do in the red zone outside of the one that we're going to see in the very final play that we look at.
I think this play only has 2 real options. It really has the one, and it works out great. But just future potential variation, if you're trying to run this play and show something different here. Notice how Cash, look, he's executing his fake, but I just wonder, maybe one day that would take a lot of time to develop for a QB to get there. But I always just look for these things, like
especially if you don't block, if you're not blocking that guy, it's not going to happen. But watch speaking of the fake though, watch what the linebacker, the guy who eventually sort of gets him out of bounds, outside right there. He kind of takes one little lean, the guy that gets him here, because of the fake to Cash, and now that gives Bowers time. So right about a little bit further, that guy, but just a little bit further. That little chop down hesitation, that's enough to get Bowers in space. And there you go. Getting him in space. Nobody can bring him down. He's so amazing. I could watch him play I'm enjoying every single snap that we see from him.
You ought to. They said on the broadcast last night, this is probably his last year in college. And I'm like, well, yeah. Like, we know.
They said a lot of things where it was just like, well, okay, fellas, didn't really do your homework there, did you?
This is just a deep slant, and UAB had nobody looking at this. I mean, this is not great for Blazer defense.
And look at what it does you got two guys turning and running with the deep ball. Rosenby Jackson ain't here. Now, this is, again, another one where Beck threw the completion. If you watch Rosenby Jackson, he kind of throttled down to catch the ball. And if he truly catches it in full speed stride, he might score. I would almost bet, I mean, it's really close. He might outrun that guy to the sideline. But I don't care. Throw the completion. The guy is that wide open when there is no much space, like wide arse open. Throw the completion.
Let me point out one thing that we're going to do another video of the mistakes that Georgia made. There aren't as many. It was a cleaner game, but some of the mistakes, some of the tendencies are still pretty rough here. Mainly the thing I'm seeing is that when Beck feels that pressure, and this is any quarterback, this is not unique to him, that he rushes things, that's when the decisions get made poorly. If I pause this right here and give you a little zoom in action, this looks like Truss is beat. And it looks like pressure will be coming to Beck. He's not spooked by this at all. And Truss does a good job getting back leverage, more time, boom, make your throw. The other plays that we'll feature in a separate Film Don't Lie video, Beck moves around more. He doesn't believe in that block happening, or doesn't believe that the tackle is going to regather. It's all happening in milliseconds. When he trusts that block will be regathered, when it will be recollected, great things happen. Last
point from a numbers perspective on this. In this game, his average depth of target, how far down the field on average he threw the ball on play action plays, which by the way were 57% of his dropbacks. So an overwhelming number. Like they massively went to the other side of it. 10.4 yards. If they didn't use play action, 1.5.
Ooh.
So like it's either play action, we're taking shots, or balls out instantaneously and quick.
This is when I knew Mike Bobo was in his bag a little bit.
This was
Beautiful.
This was one of those, kind of the chef's kiss. Hey, this is beautiful. Setting that up, and great job of just not getting any sort of bad call. You're basically blocking a guy you're in the end zone. You're going to score. You with the motion, everything about this. Just reminded me of a call I made on a fourth down in a game once. Called a league play very similar to this, and executed almost just like this.
I don't have the film of it, so I can't break it down. Bauer's open. Whatever you have to do to make that happen, and this is beautiful.
He had 9 targets in this game. He should have had about 13. If you sort of look where the ball should have gone on multiple occasions, one of those we're going to show in another video.
Yeah.
But he had 9 targets a week ago. He didn't have more than 9 targets in only one game, the SEC championship game in 2021. We had 15 targets. Outside of that, he's never had that many targets in a game. So what you're seeing is, hey, while Georgia gets its running game going, while all these, while Ladd's out, things aren't sort of, while you're getting a young quarterback comfortable, give it to the best player. Good things will happen.
Yeah, and when they fail to do that, things don't happen quite as well. David West in the comments, Bowers is a beast. Yeah, I probably could have just done that and got off air.
Maybe that should be the title of the video. But actually, that might be the title of our play of the game video.
I think that's the title of Georgia's season, because that's the key. Georgia has them, other people don't. It's going to be hard to stop them. Go from there.
Overall, though, offense just much more like the explosive plays. I think that's going to be and should be their identity, is because you have a drop back guy. You have a guy who in the 15 to 25 yard range can be accurate with the football when you give him time and space. Keep doing that. Keep attacking those areas. Find different ways and unique ways to attack that intermediate area of the field. Much like, you don't have the receivers that Burrow had in 19, but that's what they did, is they attacked that 10 to 20 yard range of the field better than anyone ever has. Keep finding ways to attack that area of the field, and I think they're going to keep having the successes that they had, like they did against UAB.
And it's not all sunshine and rainbows. We'll have some of the errors that Georgia had on offense in another Film Don't Lie video that you can check out. If you're watching us live, that's coming here, within the hour. And we'll have that published here. Thanks to Breda Pest Management, the official pest management company of the Georgia Bulldogs. They protect Sanford Stadium, and I promise you they're good enough to protect your house. BredaPest.com. And ASW Distilleries, I was into that Fiddler Bourbon last night, and they keep having these late kickoffs, and it's a great thing because light up Sanford and light up Georgia in all the ways. ASW is great, man. There's Distilled by Dogs. 5 of the 6 founders are UGA grads, and they want Georgia to be super successful. They want ASW to be what bourbon can be in Georgia. Not just bourbon. You have the rye whiskey. There's some vodka they have going on. Go check them out. ASW Distillery on their social channels and then their tasting rooms as well. We'll be back here for more Film Don't Lie from UGAsports.com. See y'all then.